and take the bits whether the relatives want us to or not. Now, what you have done is removed choice. And choice is called freedom. And freedom is what millions of people have died for this century. I maintain that we haven't got enough freedom. I don't want to hear arguments. I don't think you can successfully argue with me that freedom of that ilk should be reduced. If we have not the right to say what happens to us, then we got damn all right to make laws about what happens to somebody else.
But you're talking about a dead person here.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I've got the right to say what happens to me, to this lump here, the top half of which is banging together at the moment. I've got the right to say. Now, I, for one, maintain that anyone who doesn't offer their kidneys is making a grave error and is doing mankind a disservice. But I defend to the hilt their right to be wrong.
Well, okay, if all the dead people were to give away their organs, there would be more than enough, I would presume. Okay, tell me this is wrong, but I would presume that there would be a lot more organs that are necessary.
Absolutely.
So can't the medical profession decide how much distress and whether that distress is worthy? And maybe...
I don't think the medical profession have it within their capability to decide levels of stress and distress.
But you gave an extreme
because what
example, didn't you?
Well, yes, I did. But, John, what you're now saying is that the medical profession should go along to the individual and say, your husband's kidneys is a good tissue match for Joe Bloggs or our person who is in need of a kidney, so we're thinking of taking it, and the individual says, I don't want you to, and then the doctor says, well, that's tough, we're going to anyway. Now, how much will it upset you? I mean, how's he going to make this a judgment? How's he going to do it? You'd have to cancel the person before the crisis, not after it. In crisis, the person is in trauma. The person just lost their husband, for crying out loud. We want the kidney out the body within 24 hours. We don't want some dirty, great interview by the doctor about whether you're going to be upset or not. Of course they're upset. They're crying their pig in eyes out. Their husband's dead.
Well,
it's hardly a time to assess their rationale, is it?
I think, yeah, I agree with that. But the extreme example which you gave of someone committing suicide or when their husband dies, purely on the fact that an organ was taken from their body, and that was the thing that did it, I think that is such a... I would have thought John,
let me tell you, John, that there was a case not many years ago where a child was given a blood transfusion in an emergency. That child was the child of parents of a particular religious sect. They gassed themselves. That happened.
Well, you have to go back years to find that.
I'm not going to tell you how far back.
Yeah, well,
you don't have to go back more than half a generation.
Well, they obviously aren't usual cases, are they?
I am not under
my system where...
I am not suggesting they are, but I do not want to create a society where we put people in the position of having to consider that there are religions within our society that believe it is against God's law. Now, I haven't got a God, so I ain't got no God's law, but I respect other people's gods, and there are people who believe it is against God's law to transfer organs, to transfer blood and plasma and what have you. Now, I don't think we can foist our God upon them, nor do I believe we've got the right to remove their God. Because there are people, perhaps you're one of them, who believe that God is the supreme being. I believe he's a joke played on mankind. That is entirely different. I don't believe I've got the right to foist my beliefs on somebody else.
But how far do you want religion to go?
I don't want religion to go anywhere. I want religion to cease. I think it's a boring subject. I think it's a waste of time. For me!
You're giving these people the right to say these religious views.
No, I am giving me the right.
Okay, well...
I want the right to choose. I've made my choice. I will never change that choice. But I want that choice.
But what if these religious people said something like, we will keep our children in a room and not let them out into the outside world and all that sort of thing. If they did that,
I would believe that choice to be an inhibition of that child's basic human rights, and I would be against that.
But they're religious.
But you are not talking about that. You are talking about doing something which is, I'm sorry, but not a limitation of a person's freedom.
But you are
hoping to create a limitation of that freedom, and I'm not prepared to accept it.
In that case, the child is being limited for the rest of his life, just as the person on the dialysis machine who could get the kidney.
But that is not the issue. The individual doesn't make the choice to put them on the kidney machine. They don't say, you're having an horrible kidney and you're not having my husband's. They say, you're not having my husband's because I don't believe you should take my husband's. That's all. Or my wife's. I'm not pouring emotion onto females. Men are just as emotional, and quite right too. But the individual doesn't say, you're not having my wife's kidney.
Well, perhaps you could tell me how this problem can be solved, because
yes, there's a very simple. There is a very simple, not solution, because there are no solutions, but there is a very simple process. I believe that we should have a non-donor card as opposed to a donor card. In other words, people should be given a very specific choice at the age of 18 when they become of age. 25 I would prefer, because 25 is a more substantive age as far as I'm concerned, but at the moment the age of majority is 18, and as soon as you become a member of society who is able to influence society by casting a vote, you should be required to consider whether you do or do not want your organs to be donated to another. And if you wish them not to be, you must carry a card to that effect, and it is your responsibility to have it on your person.
Well, that's a system I haven't thought on. I think that would work.
I know it would work. That is why I think of it.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Alan. Bye.
How do, Mike?
Hello, Alan.
Yes.
I'd like to refer back to the call about the dangerous pursuits and treatment of them. I think people that go in for dangerous pastimes ought to either be insured or consider the consequences of the cost of treatment if they come unstuck and need some sort of treatment.
Well, we've got a problem here, haven't we?
Well, when
people who go in for dangerous pastimes. You tell me, what is a dangerous pastime?
Well, people that deliberately go in for sports and
would you like to tell me the comparative danger of driving your motor car for pleasure? And by that I just mean going for a drive round the Peak District, rubbernecking, in other words, looking at the sights, or hang gliding off one of the peaks. Which is the most dangerous?
Well, you accept the driving situation as an everyday occurrence that everybody is involved with.
Well, not everybody.
The majority of people would be involved in the possibility of a road traffic accident.
I see. So what you're suggesting is that an individual has no right to take part in a minority sport that is dangerous.
I'm not withdrawing the right. I'm suggesting that they should insure against the cost.
Why?
The cost of
what is the point of having a health service if everyone that's going to use it's got to pay for it?
Well, I'm suggesting that people who are under everyday risks we're quite eligible to use the health services for its intended purpose. But people who take exceptional risks...
What would you define as an exceptional risk?
Well, people that indulge in pastimes which are likely to get themselves injured.
That means driving a car.
Well, that's an everyday risk that everybody's involved.
Well, it's only an everyday risk because we've got a little more affluent. And if we've got a little more affluent, then why the hell shouldn't we pay a little more?
Pedestrians are at the same risk. They're going to get hit by the cars whether they've got one or not.
This is absolutely true, but they could be landed on by somebody who's fell off an hang glider. I don't see that makes any difference. You're talking about the individual in the motor car, at least I am. I'm saying a person who drives their motor car to go rubbernecking round the peaks is actually indulging in a very dangerous pastime.
Yes, and they're insured to cover the cost of any...
They are not insured to cover the cost of hospital, let me tell you. The insurance company doesn't cough up for your hospital bed. They pay about 17 quid or something like that for your emergency hospital treatment, but they don't pay any more.
Yeah,
if you have one of your legs cut off, the insurance company doesn't cough up about 19 grand for it.
What I'm suggesting,
the health service pays.
The instances that you're suggesting are everyday risks that everybody's likely to come up against.
But that isn't enough, I'm sorry. What about somebody that goes walking in the dales? People break their ankle walking in the dales. Are we to now say if you go walking? Walking, for crying out loud. It's a pastime. What if you're walking in the park? You could be hit by a duck. You could go to Martin Mere as I did on Sunday and a duck could bite you. You could get food poisoning. We're going to make it deal. Oh, God, you can't go there, mate. You've not got an insurance policy. You might be bit by a duck or a goose. I mean, come on, how far are you going to take it?
I'm not taking it to extremes.
Well, why not take it to extremes? A stupid idea should be dealt with stupidly.
Well, the point is, by treating these people who have taken, I should put high-risk pursuits, you're withdrawing funds from the health service that could be used for people...
Well, Mike, let me ask you another question then. Let us presume somebody's gone rock climbing, and they've fallen off the top, and they're lying there with a broken back. And our wonderful, he said in his most patronising voice, mountain rescue teams get on their hind legs, and they go looking for him. And when they find him, what do? Do they say, "Are you insured? Because if you're not, you might as well stop here. Because we're not taking you back, pal."
No,
what do we do? Well, what do you suggest? What do you suggest?
If they're going to indulge in pursuits that are likely to get themselves injured, then they should insure against it.
Well, let's presume that the whole of the world is not populated by people who obey the law. What are we to do with the ones that don't? Are we to let them die?
No, I'm not suggesting you let them die. But
are you suggesting that we let them stay there, and if they choose to die, they should die? I know the point you're making. I'm asking you questions on it now. I believe the idea is impractical. I also believe it is unfair, because your definition of a dangerous sport is not the same as mine, and that applies to everyone listening to this programme and taking part in it. So let us come down to the nitty-gritty. The mountain rescue team gets out there, the guy's lying there, broken in half. What do you say?
Well, you pick him up, obviously.
Then what?
Well, did you sort that out later?
Well, all right. What do you mean you sort it out later?
Well, the first thing is to keep him alive and get him...
Well, you keep him alive. All right, so you get him to hospital. When do we decide that this guy's going to die because he didn't insure?
No, you don't decide that.
I see. What do we decide then?
Well, you try to...
The guy is disabled. Most people that break their back end up disabled. The guy is disabled for the rest of his life. He requires constant medical attention. When do we say you're not having it?
What I'm suggesting is by him having the freedom to choose to go out and break his...
Would you like to answer the question, Mike? I realise it's a very difficult question for you. I realise it knackers your argument, but I'm going to put it again. Will you tell me, when do we say to this man, it's your own fault, you didn't get the insurance, the treatment has ended?
I never said that you... I said, when you asked me that question first time, that there wasn't a point at which you said that.
You never say that?
No,
well, I wouldn't bother then. I wouldn't bother then. What are you going to do then? Well, look, this guy has broken the law. Because you're wanting a law that says they've got to do it. Now, I agree with you that they should do it.
I'm not saying there's a law. What I said...
No, I know you're not saying there is a law, Mike, but I rather thought that you were saying that there should be.
No,
you're not saying there should be.
I was suggesting that people who indulge in obviously dangerous pursuits should at least take out some sort of cover, or at least consider the consequences for the family if they don't come back.
Then, Mike, I am prepared to accept that as a statement of advice rather than a statement of what should be government policy. I've either misheard you or you've changed position. I can't remember which, but I'll give you misheard. I fully agree that an individual who takes part in any sport, who can afford, and that's important, who can afford the insurance should take it out. Not for the health service, which is what you said, because quite honestly the insurance companies don't pay up to the health service. If you've got a policy that will provide you with the treatment, you go private. But should cough up to your relatives, should enable your relatives to not lose their lifestyle as a result of the incident on your pastime. All right?
Yeah, but you jumped on one statement that I made before I completed the whole...
Well, I've got to win somehow, Mike.
Yeah, well, as I say, you jumped on a half of a statement that I'd made. I was going to suggest that by having the freedom to choose to go out and smash yourself up, which is effectively what I was suggesting they were doing, you're using funds from the National Health Service, which could...
you see, we're back on the National Health Service. So are you... I'm sorry, Mike, but I'm sorry. If we're going to make rules that actually say that the National Health Service should get money from your insurance company, then fine. But for that, we're going to have to give it the backing of law, because the voluntary system, let's face it, let us be honest. An individual who's lying there feeling unwell gets a choice. They can go on a ward with 20 other people and get a 20th of a nurse's attention, because that's what the health service is like at the moment, or they can go into a nice two-bedroom in a pretty building surrounded by trees with a coloured television, phone by the bed, all decent food, nice comfortable style, one nurse to the room. Which are they going to choose?
says they've got the choice?
If they've got the insurance policy, I promise you they have. Because if the insurance policy's got a cough up, they're not going to say go on the health service. The insurance companies are involved in private medicine, for crying out loud.
When I suggested that the possibilities of the health service funding injuries to people who've chosen to go out and follow...
Yes, I'm aware of that, Mike.
They're withdrawing funds from people...
I'm aware of that. Mike.
You need a dialysis machine and you haven't got the choice.
Mike.
And the fund's not there.
Mike.
Yeah.
The difficulty I am having with is this. You're suggesting that it should be a voluntary scheme. If it's a voluntary scheme, very few people, I suggest, are going to take out insurance merely to reduce the cost to the health service. If they take in a voluntary...
I accept your point there, yeah.
Right, so, in other words, your voluntary scheme is not worth tuppence. It ain't worth the air you've used to express it. Now, if you're saying the voluntary scheme will choose private medicine, fine, that will, by its effect, reduce the cost to the health service. Of course it will. If that's what you want, fine. I suggest to you that 1 in dozens will accept it. The only way you're going to sensibly and effectively reduce the cost of the health service is to make it compulsory. And if you make it compulsory, we're back to the question, where do you turn the tap off? And you've already answered that, saying you don't turn the tap off. But of course, if you don't turn the tap off, and you don't throw ill people into prison hospitals because they didn't have insurance policies, you end up in a situation where everybody's going to say, what's the point? Nothing happens to you if you don't have it, so don't waste your money.
I'm not suggesting you turn the tap off. What I'm suggesting is, if they haven't taken provision, they haven't made provision for the outcome of the actions, then they should be stuck with a bill at the end of it, regardless of...
Well, it's going to be great, innit? If you break your back, they give you a bill for 20 grand, you're going to laugh yourself silly. You're going to say, I've no brass.
You're going to be stuck with a bill that you're going to have to pay one way or another.
Listen, once a bill gets over 1,500 quid, nobody ever pays it. Never mind, Mike. Okay. Nice to talk to you.
The idea's right.
I'm sure it must be.
Well,
Ta-ra.
it seemed right when I started.
Well, I'm sure it still is, Mike. Ta-ra.
Good night.
A far, far better furniture store.
Edmondson's of Blackburn, a far, far better furniture store. For lounge, dining room and bedroom furniture. For famous names in quality carpets. For all home furnishings. Edmondson's offers choice. Edmondson's gives first-class service. And Edmondson's guarantees value for money. All round a far, far better furniture store. At Darwin Street, Blackburn.
A far, far better furniture store. Edmondson's.
Oliver Summers Cycles for up-to-date models. We have spares, we do repairs. Main Street, Wigan, telephone 43174. Oliver Summers Cycles, also at Market Street, Hindley.
Choose Are you thinking about buying a new car? Then look no further than Macmillan's of Bolton. Because if you buy a new Audi VW before the 15th of April, we'll give you a 10-day holiday in Yugoslavia for 2 people courtesy of Avalon Travel, absolutely free. That's £400 worth of holiday free. Hurry down to Macmillan's of Bolton for your new Audi VW car at Blackburn Road, Bolton.
Macmillan's of Bolton, Macmillan's of Bolton.
Telephone Bolton 31464.
Macmillan's of Bolton.
Come to Pepper Lane Chippy soon. We're never closed, because we're always peeling taters, fishing for the freshest fish in town, or baking a selection of mouth-watering pizzas. Visit the Pepper Lane Chippy in Pepper Lane off the main Preston Road, Standish near Wigan. Which reminds me, fee, fi, fo, fum, Pepper Lane Chippy, here I come.
Preston late night shopping every Wednesday. But this Wednesday there's even more shops open. That means more choice, more value, more convenience. Oh, and free parking too at St George's after 4:30.
So come on down, 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 down to St George's Centre.
Smith's Bookshop of Main Street, Wigan are offering at least £10 off selected Parker and Schaefer pens and £10 off Helix Home Files, now down to just $14.95. And for a limited period only, £1 off all compact discs, plus revision aids, maps, Easter cards, and remember, Smiths have the Rugby League week every week during the Aussie season. There's only one bookshop in Wigan, Smith's, your local bookshop.
How do, Jonathan?
Hello, Alan. It was a while ago now, but it was about last year, I think. You had some lad on the programme, and he was there asking could he do where he could do some embryo experiments, and he told him to hit past his anatomy with a brick. Well, I tried it, and the brick broke.
Well, you're very fortunate. Get a bigger brick. How do, David?
And I'd like a glass of...
David, that was far too loud. How do, Mark?
How do? Can you tell me if, you know Cleopatra?
No, I don't know Cleopatra.
And Mark Antony?
I've not met him either.
Oh, well, you know, Shakespeare.
I didn't meet Shakespeare. I'm aware of his existence.
But you know that book he wrote, you know?
Which one? He was rather prolific.
Well, Mark Antony and Cleopatra.
I didn't think he had.
Well, could you tell me if Cleopatra and Mark Antony killed themselves off the same asp? Well, committed suicide, you know?
No, I can't tell you.
You can't?
That's true.
Why?
Have a guess.
You weren't there.
Got it in one. How do, Phyllis?
Good evening, Mr. Beswick.
Good evening.
I wonder, can you explain a position to me regarding taking early retirement? Next year, I will have not paid, whatever one does, I will have 40 contributions of working life. Now, does that mean that I can draw my pension, or will I have to wait until I'm 60?
You will have to wait until your normal retirement age.
Of 60.
In retirement terms, or in pension terms, there's no such thing as early retirement.
Oh.
You can take early retirement from your company, and they can pay you a proportion of the normal retirement pension. There's nothing to do with the state. In the state's terms, you will, to all intents and purposes, be no longer working, but you won't get your retirement pension until you properly retire.
Right, so...
I think there's something called the job release scheme. I don't know whether that's still in force, and that would enable you to give up your job at 59 for a fixed sum a week. That was what they used to have. It's all changed recently, but I still don't think you can retire early and get a proportion of your retirement pension. There may be some other benefit scheme available to you, but I don't think you can retire early in the normal sense.
Well, does that mean then, if you've paid the full amount of contributions that you need to pay, that if you go on working, well, I have 3 more years I have to work, would that mean that I get a higher pension, or does my pension rate still stay the same?
If you go on beyond retirement age?
No. If I was told that 40 contributions qualified me for a pension.
Well, it isn't 40 contributions.
40 working years or whatever.
I think it's... I don't think it's even that. It's the best of 40 years. The best 20 in 40, I think it is, or something as elaborate and complicated as that. The best thing I can suggest to you, love, is that you get hold of a retirement pensions leaflet. I know you have, and they're gibberish, like aren't they?
Tax, yes.
I know. The problem is I haven't seen one for ages, and so I can't interpret it for you, because I've had no call to look at one for 5 years.
Oh, no, you're not super...
No, I don't mean that. I mean, when I worked at the Citizens Advice Bureau, we looked at documents like that quite frequently, but since then I've never looked at one. And so I would need to read the leaflet to understand it. I can't remember. In fact, it's changed. I can't explain it now, because I don't know.
Yeah.
But someone that does know is the Citizens Advice Bureau. They have all the details there. What it used to be was, if you like, the best 40 years of your working life went towards your pension. Now that the pension is on a contributory basis, then of course any contributions you make will continue to affect your pension on the face of it. But
so that means on the face of it your pension may increase, but I thought it was a fixed pension.
Well, at the moment the pension I will receive is part fixed, that's the minimum.
Yeah.
Then there's the earnings-related pension.
Yeah.
And would you believe I'll even get a penny a week graduated pensions? Do you remember those 1,000 years ago?
Good God, yeah.
Well, you'll get some of that, you see. In fact, you should have a certificate that you got in the 70s, perhaps even earlier.
Joking.
I'm not.
I've been to America all over since then.
Quite, but if you paid pension contributions, graduated pension contributions, at the time when they were in existence, you will have earned a graduated pension, and that will be added to your basic retirement pension. So it's so complicated that I couldn't work it out on the radio.
So a Citizens Advice would be
A Citizens Advice Bureau will be able to work through the leaflets with you. Indeed,
so it isn't just a 40 years, 40 contributions, and then... I mean, if I was to stop working now...
Well, as far as
I've been told my pension is clear. I wouldn't lose it now.
You wouldn't, right. The basic pension is calculated, or used to be calculated, on your best 40 years.
Right.
So you earn the right to a basic pension if you made the minimum contributions in those 40 years. Mm-hmm. Now, once you've made the minimum contributions, any contributions over that used to improve your pension. Now, I don't think that system's changed, but please check. So any contributions you make beyond that improve your pension. All right.
Thank you very much, and good night.
Thank you, and good night. And please go to your Citizens Advice Bureau, because that was probably the biggest load of hogwash that's ever been said, but that's how I remember it. As I say, 5 years have transpired. In fact, getting on for 6 years now have transpired. It'll be well worth checking it with Emma's Nose, Citizens Advice Bureau.
Choose Macmillan's of Bolton. Are you thinking about buying a new car? Then look no further than Macmillan's of Bolton, because if you buy a new Audi VW before the 15th of April, we'll give you a 10-day holiday in Yugoslavia for 2 people courtesy of Avalon Travel, absolutely free. That's £400 worth of holiday free. Hurry down to Macmillan's of Bolton for your new Audi VW car at Blackburn Road, Bolton.
Macmillan's of Bolton, Macmillan's of Bolton.
Telephone Bolton 31464.
Macmillan's of Bolton, where our customers come first.
MAS sales in King Street Stores Wigan give you the biggest and best bargains of a lifetime, with 1/3 off recommended prices of toiletries, prams, designer clothing, jewellery, lighting and a wide range of retail goods, plus furniture and hardware at half price and carpets from £2 a square yard. MAS sales in King Street Stores, King Street Wigan. Hurry before all the bargains are sold.
Away, away, on an Avalon holiday.
Avalon Travel announced 10 breathtaking days in the Austrian Tyrol for just £199, departing by luxury coach on the 27th of June or the 15th of August. You'll stay at the Gasthof Zillertal in Strasse and enjoy excursions to Innsbruck, Meyerhofen and many more destinations, all in the price. Don't miss this superb opportunity to holiday for 10 days in the Austrian Tyrol for just £199. Ring Avalon Travel on Bolton 398788 for details of fantastic children's reductions and to claim your free £10 holiday voucher if you book before the end of April.
Bolton 398788 to book your holiday.
Extra, extra, hear all about it. Kitchens, carpets, 3-piece suites, tables, chairs, bedroom furniture. Whatever you need for your home, visit Upstairs Downstairs of Walgate, Wigan. We've probably the largest selection of real leather suites on display, plus hundreds, yes, hundreds of cut price lines. But hurry, when our customers hear of a bargain, the bargains won't last for long. Don't lose out. Visit Upstairs Downstairs today and save a few bob into the bargain. Upstairs Downstairs, Walgate, Wigan. Furnishers of distinction. Late night Thursdays.
Please listen to my ditty. It may not be very witty, nor even slightly funny, but it will help save you money. For me, from cradle to grave, I aim to shop and save. I buy out I need, for next to nought indeed. There's meat and veg and cheese and pigs and booze and cigs and clothes and cards and sweets and pigs and pet food and household things. So shop and save a load down Blackpool's Waterloo Road, in the market they call new, and Overt Road, the M2. Thank you. Poetry in prices, from the New Market and M2 Market.
It's the place to come, where shopping can be fun. The Newmarket Waterloo Road.
I'll do, Jean.
Hello?
Hello?
Does it?
Yes?
I wonder if you can tell me, if a person has a mental breakdown, and after 3 years, could he die with depression? A very severe depression.
I'm always stumped by questions that say, could this happen? Because in this peculiar world of ours, anything can happen. I'm not aware of anyone dying from depression.
I can tell you who did.
Well, I don't want to know who did, because we don't use names on this program.
No, it's just my husband, that's all.
Well, I mean, a person may choose not to go on living.
Yeah, he did. Choose not to go on.
But I I mean, I'm forced to answer, yeah, all right. So somebody could die. But I don't think they're then dying from just straightforward depression. I think something else goes wrong. I think they then die of a physical condition brought about by their failure to motivate themselves, if you like.
Yeah, well, it was...
I think it would be unusual for a death certificate to carry the doctor's statement that he died of depression. May well have died of heart failure or kidney failure, what have you, but die of depression, I don't think I've ever seen that.
Well, on the death certificate, it has from a stroke.
It had?
From a stroke.
Well, I'm forced to say that if that's what it said on the death certificate, that's what happened. Your suggestion is that depression brought the stroke on. I suppose that's possible. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. It must have been very distressing for you, Jean.
Yes, it was.
But the 3 years before it can't have been pleasant.
You see, it's where I live, really. You know, it's all the hassle, the tormenting that went on, and all the picking on me lads. I've got 3 lads. And all that, you know, throwing bricks through my windows and all sorts.
Environmental matters are most important, I think. People can get very distressed about the way they are treated by their neighbours, so-called. And I can't give you any solution.
No.
Really. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry, love. Howdy, Paul.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Right, Alan. I bought a car about 5 months ago for a friend that I used to, you know, sort of knock around with. And he stole it on me, so I was told. See, the car was stolen. And what he'd done, he'd had a set of duplicate keys. And he'd had an accident in the car. Now, the car was traced back to me. So I was just wondering what I could do. You know, it weren't me.
What do you mean, so I was told?
Well, someone had told me the lad that I used to knock around with had taken the car without my consent, and he'd used it, and he'd had an accident in it, and he'd ran away from the accident, and with the car being down to me, you know, on logbook and that, he said, you know, the police come up to me and were blaming me for the accident.
And you presumably have denied it?
Yeah, I've denied it, yeah.
Did you report the vehicle missing?
Well, I reported it missing.
Before the accident?
When I knew the car had been stolen.
Well, one would do it when one knew it was stolen. Was that before the accident happened?
No, it was after the accident happened, because he'd only had the car for about sort of 10 minutes or whatever, you know.
Oh, I see.
So is there else I can do about it?
Try proving it. Who told you? Don't give me a name, but whoever told you obviously has some knowledge of that, and perhaps they can testify in your defence should you be prosecuted.
Yeah, but I've seen, you know, the lad that told me, and he wouldn't, you know, sort of testify because he's a bit frightened of this lad, you see.
That puts you in a difficult position. I should await the action of the police, see what they do, and then get a solicitor. How do Hillary?
Hello, Alan.
Hello.
Regarding the donors.
Yes.
You know, I carry a donor card, and I wanted to know whether, you know, the fact that I carry the card gives the hospital the right to take away, you know, whatever I said on the card.
On the face of it, yes, but they almost always, if it's possible, will contact your relatives.
Yeah.
But the answer is yes.
Is there not a simpler way? Could it not be done through a family doctor? You know, the fact that...
At the risk of sounding flippant, what happens if you die when he's on holiday? There ain't a big lot of time.
Well, all right then. Could it not be done through sort of forms, social security forms?
The problem there is that the medical profession do not and should not have access to your social security file. The only way would be for a central computerised register, but judging how DVLC worked for 5 years, they might end up taking mine when it's you that's dead.
I agree, yeah. But surely there should be then a phone-in number where you can register
if you want to become a donor.
Yeah, the problem there is we have a number of problems. First of all, let us say on the way home tonight, I smash my car up and I'm ile mort, dead. Finito benito. They rush me to the Preston Royal and I'm lying there under a blanket. Nobody knows who the hell I am. How are they going to check? Whereas if I've got a card on me, they at least will find that. So you still need some identification, so it might as well be the card.
Well, why not a dog tag?
A dog tag?
As in...
Having had to wear... I know what you mean, but having had to wear one once before, I don't think I ever want to wear one again.
What, not to save someone's life?
Not to save somebody's life. I have no desire to wear a necklace for any reason.
Maybe a tattoo then.
I will never have one of those. I contemplated in the army, toyed with the idea for many times in the army, of having my blood group, which is something they did in our unit if you wanted it. They actually arranged it for you. Having your blood group tattooed in your armpit. They worked on the theory if you didn't have your armpit anymore, your blood group didn't matter that much. But if you did, and you needed blood, then the medics could get it into you fairly sharpish.
Yeah, but
and I never got round to it.
There should be some system whereby you can donate your your body to science, or...
Well, Hilary, there is a system.
Because I would love to donate,
if you want to donate your body, Hilary,
but also bone marrow.
Hilary, if you want to donate your body to medical research, then go to your citizens' advice and they will tell you how to do it. If you want to donate everything on your body that they want, in other words, any bits you want, you can have.
But I would also like
Listen to me, Hilary, we're running out of time. If you wish to donate your body in such a way that any bits they want, they can have, be it your bone marrow, your kidneys, your eyes, anything, then there is a way of doing it.
But
there
what
is
about
an
bone
all
marrow,
organs.
Your
bone marrow's in your bones. If it's in your body, you can donate everything. You're not listening.
That during life, surely.
If you're wanting to donate your bone marrow while you're still alive, then I suggest you get in touch with the specialist hospitals that deal with it, and they will tell you whether they want it or not. Because it's not all suitable. They only need a bit, and they only need it off certain people.
Well, there ought to be a better system.
Well, the doctors who would be required, or the staff who would be required to set up the system would cost the health service money.
No, a computer.
Well, I don't know anyone that gives them away, do you?
Through your doctor.
No, gives away computers. This computer you want them to have, who's going to give it them?
Oh, we'll have to...
Like I said, they cost money.
We'll have to get a thing together then.
Well, you get a thing together, love. I'll look forward to seeing it. All right.
Well, like they did with the scanner.
Well, they haven't done it yet with the scanner. They've done it once, they're doing it again. It's a good idea. Get the appeal started.
Right.
It's all right.
I'll have a go.
I'm glad to hear it. How do, Jean?
Hello, Alan. I wanted to find out about this ladies' night out, love.
Have you sent in an application form? Did you send in your cheque?
I did.
Then you will have your tickets by the end of the week.
Thank you, Alan.
A pleasure.
That's very
all right. I'm going to have a good time. All right, Jean.
Smashing. Bye.
Cheers. Ta-ra now. We're all going on the ladies' night out next Tuesday night. We're going to see Jesus Christ Superstar at the Grand Theatre in Blackpool. The tickets should be with all those people that sent back their £3 contribution to the Wing Fellowship Trust and their application form. The tickets should be with you by the end of the week. I hope to have them tomorrow. If not, I'll have them on Wednesday. Either way, you'll have them by the end of the week. Honest. I'll do to our final caller this evening on line 6, who labours under the name of Tracy.
Hello, Alan. I sent away for a picture of you about a week ago and I haven't received it yet. How long does it normally take?
Did you send a stamped self-addressed envelope?
Yes, I did.
You did. Then you should get it fairly soon. The reason you might not have got it yet, or indeed haven't got it yet, is that I didn't get the mail until this morning, because I've been away for 3 days.
Oh, I see.
All right?
Okay then,
Smashing.
Alan. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye. And that's it for another night.
Preston late night shopping every Wednesday. But this Wednesday there's even more shops open. That means more choice, more value, more convenience. Oh, and free parking too at St George's after 4:30.
So come on down, 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 down to St George's Centre.
That's the sound you'll hear when you set sail on the world's most luxurious and prestigious liner, the QE2. And that's the sound of the money you'll save by booking an autumn cruise to Portugal at any branch of Ribble's National Travel World. Not only will you get the cruise of a lifetime on the QE2, but also luxury transport to and from Southampton, £25 to spend on board and lots more, all from only £395. Sounds unbelievable, but it's true. For more information, call into any branch of Ribble's National Travel World today.
Choose Macmillan's of Bolton. Are you thinking about buying a new car? Then look no further than Macmillan's of Bolton. Because if you buy a new Audi VW before the 15th of April, we'll give you a 10-day holiday in Yugoslavia for 2 people courtesy of Avalon Travel, absolutely free. That's £400 worth of holiday free. Hurry down to Macmillan's of Bolton for your new Audi VW car at Blackburn Road, Bolton. Macmillan's of Bolton, Macmillan's of Bolton. Telephone Bolton 31464. Macmillan's of Bolton, where our customers come from.
Didn't get a lot of this tonight, did you? Thank you to everyone that rang in tonight. I'll be back this coming night. That's Tuesday at 10. Webster's next. Hard luck. Ta-ra!
2 o'clock news, this is Steve Allen. It's been revealed that 3 more of the Queen's cousins were admitted to a Surrey mental hospital. They became patients during the war, at the same time as the 2 Bowes-Lyon sisters who'd officially been listed as dead. But Catherine Bowes-Lyon is still alive and shares facilities at the hospital with 2 surviving cousins. When they were all admitted, the hospital was private, but in 1948 the health service was founded, and it now costs the NHS around £250 a week to look after each of the 3 royal cousins. The Queen Mother has been sending money for Christmas and birthday presents since she found out 6 years ago that her niece Catherine was still alive. She was contacted by Maud Stewart from the hospital's League of Friends, who says the Queen's 3 relatives all have a similar handicap, a mental age of about 4.
She has the age of a 3 to 4 year old, and she's just as mischievous as some 3 to 4 year olds. In fact, the staff and some of us have a pet word for her. We often call her Tinker, because she is a tinker at times. She gets up to all sorts of little things that you would expect of a 4-year-old child.
A second attempt will be made in Belfast today to bury a murdered IRA man. The funeral of Larry Marley was halted yesterday after a confrontation between mourners and RUC officers who feared a paramilitary-style demonstration over the coffin. Ken Johnston reports.
The confrontation sparked a huge Republican demonstration last night, which passed off peacefully but was followed by IRA gun and mortar attacks on police bases in West Belfast. Although no one was injured, it will be daylight before bomb experts can examine a number of devices which failed to detonate. Meanwhile, there's still no end in sight to the prison siege, where loyalists demanding segregation from Republicans are holding 2 hostages behind barricades. Hardline Republicans have threatened to join the protest in jails unless the government concedes. Ken Johnston, IRN, Belfast.
The operation to pull the Herald of Free Enterprise upright starts at high tide this morning. The boss of the salvage team has made his final inspection and says the weather conditions are excellent. Nurses are telling the government it should be spending more money on AIDS treatment rather than concentrating so heavily on its advertising campaign. The Royal College of Nursing Conference in Glasgow is also calling for more training to help nurses care for the friends and family of those with the disease. Our industrial editor Mark Mardell reports.
The government will come in for a bit of a battering today for their healthcare policy for the poor, the homeless and the elderly, but there'll be cautious praise for the handling of the AIDS epidemic. However, RCN General Secretary Trevor Clay says it's just the beginning of the battle.
It's one of the enormously added strains that nurses have to cope with. We're going to be faced with an even bigger problem, and the government and the professions have got to do even more about it.
And the Royal College is urging that nurses should be trained not only to help those with AIDS, but also care for their families and friends. Mark Mardell, IRN, Glasgow.
Watford Football Club officials say reports that Elton John is planning to sell the club is news to them. It's claimed that Elton wants to sell for £3.5 million, but he isn't commenting. Independent Radio News.
Red Rose, nighttime radio.
Bullet with more energy than a raging bull, more power than a dozen atom bombs. It's Derek Webster.
It's Derek Webster with you on the radio, playing your favorites for you, some old, some new. A little cheeky, a little naughty, the best possible taste. It's Derek Webster with you on the radio.